Hey y'all, so welcome to lesson 4. We're looking at who votes today. Our essential question is this: who votes and who doesn't in the US, and why does that matter? So we're going to be looking at some graphs about who turns out to vote and why. We did a check-in today about like our basic understanding of Democrats and Republican Party values. So we're going to go over that in tomorrow's lesson. And here's the lesson today. We have a warm-up kind of connecting to what we did in lesson 3. We have a little intro video, a little graphic analysis, and then we're going to look at the Electoral College and the electoral map. So warm-up question is basically based on what you learned about your state's voting rules. Do those rules tend to make you think that the state government views voting as a right, a privilege, or a responsibility, and then back it up with 2 or 3 pieces of evidence? So you type there. The next thing we want to do is we have this Rock the Vote video. The video link is on the top, and then there's 3 questions down below. So check that out. Type your responses in the slide. The next thing I want to do is we're going to get into like voting and who turns out and why. So I want you to brainstorm, what are some common barriers that you might see to voting? So for example, think of someone in your family, like what might keep them from voting or what might keep you from voting. So for example, like what if I have to work on election day? In a lot of countries, it's like a national holiday, so everyone can vote. But in the United States, you're technically supposed to get time off from work, but it's like you don't always. Or I have 2 little kids. What if I can't figure that out? Or what if I'm scared of getting COVID and I don't want to show up in person to vote? There's like a million reasons why you might not vote. What if I'm just like, I don't really know the candidates. I feel like I'm not ready to vote. I don't actually know the issues because I haven't had time to learn. There's like a million reasons. So you brainstorm why you think someone may not vote. Then this is kind of the main part of our lesson. We're gonna, I call it digging deeper. Slides 6 and 7 have these questions on them. And basically what we're gonna do is we are going to look at these visuals, these graphs, and figure out, kind of analyze who shows up to vote the most. So this one's by age, this one's by sex and race, this one's by median household income, so just how much money does your household make, and then this one's by education level. So what you'll do is you'll kind of flip between these graphs and then you go back and you'll answer these questions in complete sentences to the best of your ability. So there's always like more to it than it appears. So this isn't to like pass judgment on people for voting or not voting. It's just like looking at the data and then figuring out what's below the surface. Like, why is that occurring? It's not about passing judgment on anyone based on their gender or their race or their class or their education level. So then we're going to move to the second part of the lesson, which is all about the Electoral College. So I have a really good video here that explains what it is and why. I don't have specific questions for this video. I just want you to do this. I see, I think, I wonder. So the way this works is I see is just anything you observe, anything you notice. The I think is where you kind of make sense of what you see. So it's like your opportunity to explain what you think about it, add your opinion, maybe like take a guess as to like why you think what you saw occurred in the video. Like, why is it that way? And then the I wonder is like an opportunity for you to ask questions. So you could literally just like finish the sentence like, I wonder why, da 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 da. Or you could just ask a question like, whose idea was it to have the Electoral College? So that's kind of like the intro. And then what we're going to do is we're going to look at this thing called party lines, where we're basically kind of guessing what percent of the country do you think is Democrat, Independent, and Republican. And then we're going to actually like look at the data to figure it out. So in Google Classroom, let me pull this up. I have 3 websites for you that you'll need to do this. And basically, when I ask for the Gallup numbers, that's where you'll find the Gallup numbers. So if you go to class under lesson 4, if you kind of expand lesson 4, you'll see these websites right here. And that's where you'll find the Gallup info right there. But basically, here's what it is. Here's kind of like the main thing. You're going to kind of guess who was what, and then you're going to look at the actual evidence and see if you were right or not. The way the Electoral College works is this. You'll read about this, but basically states are a winner-take-all situation. So you might think that like every American votes, all those votes go into like one bucket, and the person with the most votes wins. That's not the case for the presidential election. The way it works is that the state, it's like an all or nothing competition by state. So if there's one deciding vote in a state, the whole state will go to the winning side. And you'll learn in the video, each state has a number of electoral votes based on its population. So what you can see in looking at this map is that red is Republican, think R and R, and D is, and blue is Democrat. So this shows up here which state is like, how do I say this? This shows the political representation by state. So a really dark red is really Republican. This kind of lighter red is like Republican. And then this like kind of pink is like it's barely Republican. The gray is in the middle. It's like a split or a swing state. And then the blue is all the Democrats. So light blue means it's like slightly Democratic. The darker blue means it's like solidly Democratic. And then if it's like super dark blue, it means it's like super Democratic. And what you want to do is like observe the trends, like geographically. How does this look? And what do you notice about where the red is and where the blue is? And then if you come down here, this is by district. So it's like broken up into smaller chunks. And what you can see is like, for example, look at Colorado, which is right here. If you look at Colorado, you might think, oh, it's blue, so I should be seeing more blue. But if you really look at the state and look at this scale over here, most of the state votes Republican, it looks like. But this little blue area is where the majority of the population lives, so we kind of count more. So although the map kind of shows blue as being this tiny little speck, our state actually overall votes blue normally. And what I want you to do is like look specifically about the difference between urban and rural areas. A common trend is that in urban areas, it's a little more blue or Democratic, and in rural areas, it's a little more red or Republican. And then the last thing you'll do is this exit ticket right here, which is kind of your two kind of big takeaways that I want to know. And that's lesson 4 in a nutshell. I'll see you in the afternoon at 11:30 after lunch, and we're going to have kind of a regrouping and a catch-up day.